I started work way back in, wow, I started work as an optician. Yeah, I used to be an optician, would you believe, testing people, well, testing people's eyes. And in 7 years, I was made redundant 3 times in the space of 7 years. And in 1989, I decided to follow my passion. And my passion, magic. And I love magic. And I became a magician on the 19th of June, 1989. And I started off by performing, you've probably been to events and dinners, maybe not recently, where there's been a magician at the table. So you'll be at a restaurant or a dinner, and the magician goes from table to table doing little magic tricks. And that's how I started. And in 12 years, I built up my career to such a degree that I was working for nearly half of the blue chip companies in the UK. I was doing really, really well. I was being flown up and down the country, performing, entertaining their executive boards and their top clients. I was traveling around Europe, where I was on their exhibition stands, using my magic to promote their products and services. And I was generating hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of leads for my clients. And I was even at their conferences and their product launches, where I used my magic to communicate their corporate messages. And in 2000, and so I was in front of audiences. No longer I was in front of audiences of half a dozen people at a time. I was on big stages in front of audiences of about 600, 700, 800 people in one go. And in 2002, I had a big crisis in confidence, which I won't go into the details now, but I had this big crisis in confidence. And my business went downhill. And after a few years, I thought, how is it that 1 minute I'm really successful, and the next minute I wasn't a nervous wreck, but I was nowhere near as confident as I was. And I realized it was all to do with what was going on in between my ears. So I read a lorry load of self-help books. I looked into a couple of religions and spirituality, not because I was interested in religion as such. I was interested in how people thought. I read up about successful people. I looked at neuro-linguistic programming, psychology, neuroscience. I am not a real doctor. I was just interested in these things. And I started applying these tools to build my life, these mindset tools, and rebuild my life and my business. And about 10 years ago, somebody said, why don't you come and speak at our event and talk about resilience and mindset? Because you're a success. And I said, I'm a success? I'm banging my head against a wall here. I'm driving a 10-year-old clapped out Volkswagen Golf. How am I a success? But you keep going. Well, I suppose, considering that definition, I suppose I am a success. And I spoke at this event, and I thought there might be something in this. I think I could help people and make a difference here. So that's what I've been doing the last 10 years. The bulk of my work really is speaking at conferences, seminars, where I would use, I'll also use magic in my presentations to make the presentation entertaining and fun. But I also do some after dinner work. But the bulk of my work is delivering keynote speeches at corporate events. So that's basically it.
Thank you for that very detailed answer, John.
Did I go too detailed? Did I go too detailed?
Yeah. If you can go back to the time that you were an optician.
Yes.
Why were you made redundant on 3 occasions within 7 years?
I have no idea, because when I say I have no idea, it was the first 2 times there were takeovers. I was working for small companies, and the first 2 times it was a takeover from a larger company. And then the third time I was made redundant, I was working for a large organization, and they decided that they needed to downsize a little bit. So they made redundancies across the board.
And what did you learn about yourself from that period when you had that meltdown? What did you learn about yourself as a person afterwards that you've been able to apply to your resilience business?
Now, when are we talking about? Are we talking about when I had the breakdown in confidence? Or are we talking about when I was made redundant the first time round?
The breakdown in confidence post.
So
we did all your research.
Yeah. So the to begin with, I felt lost, because I thought, okay, it's the end of the world, because I've now got no career. I don't know. I was doing my sales and I was arranging meetings, but I wasn't getting sorry, what was I doing my sales? I was doing my marketing. I was getting on the phone, I was arranging meetings, but I wasn't making the sale because I really didn't have the confidence in myself. So I realized that I needed to build up my own confidence. That was the trick. So that was the reason why I started reading all the self-help books. And that was a time, going back in 2002, between 2002 and 2005, I did get work, but not as much work as I used to get, should I say. So it wasn't until, and the internet wasn't really kind of in full flow as it is today. It was kind of sort of in its infancy sort of thing, really, in those days. But yeah, it was what I learned from the books and that I started applying bit by bit. But at first I felt very lost and down.
And how has your resilience business been going during this COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, funny, thank you very much for asking that question. So on the 23rd of March, 2020, my diary emptied overnight. And I felt, well, I've lost my superpowers now. Once again, I've lost my business. What am I going to do now? And it wasn't until about a month later, because people started then presenting online. We were forced to present online. And I thought, right, I've got to do something. And there is no such thing as failure. There is only learning. Because when I'm speaking live, I do magic in my presentations. My presentations are very interactive. I get people on stage. There's a lot of involvement with the audience involvement. And I thought, I've lost all of that. And I did my first presentation in April, end of April, 2020, 20 minutes. I mean, you're talking about a guy that can do a whole workshop for half a day or something. But I thought I'll only be able to cope with 20 minutes online because I don't know how to tell jokes. I can't read the audience. And after this 20-minute presentation, people said, that was fantastic. That was great. Really liked it. I could listen to you all day. And then I thought, oh, maybe I've got other superpowers. And I then found an organization and I spoke for no fee because I wanted to test this out. I thought I'm going to push myself and see if I can at least do some magic online, get some interactivity. And I did an event and I created an event that lasted an hour and it went really, really well. So business could have, if I'm perfectly honest, it's nowhere near as what it was before lockdown. But I have been doing some work, which has been fantastic and I've been so grateful for. And I've also found that I've got more superpowers than what I thought I had. Now, this is something, right, I know I'm speaking too much, but this is an important point. A year ago, March 2020, I thought I'd lost all my superpowers, that I wouldn't be able to communicate or present. But what I've now learned is that because I was forced into this situation, I've now doubled my superpowers, if you like. So I've found other ways of doing the same thing. So in other words, I've upskilled without realizing it. There was no real reason to be afraid to begin with. It was just a matter of saying, okay, let's do our best and find a way of doing this and testing it.
What skills have you developed in the past 12 or 15 months as a professional speaker and magician and resilience coach?
Right. Okay. So when I say what skills I've learned, first of all, I have to say from a resilience point of view, the tools that I'd already learned had come, I could use. So they helped me to stay calm. They helped me to stay focused. That's not to say that I didn't have my days when I felt anxious. That's not to say that I didn't have days when I fell on the floor and I fell to my knees and I cried. That isn't to say that I didn't feel overwhelmed. But the thing about resilience is about having tools that will help you to cope with that. And it's okay to have, it's okay not to be okay from time to time. In fact, we need not to be okay from time to time to get so that we can express those feelings. And we can, as human beings, we're like pressure cookers. If we don't express our feelings, if we're feeling bad or if we're feeling down, then that pressure can build up and it can work against us. If we express it, we'll feel better for it afterwards, and we can then focus and do what we need to do. So the skills I'd learned and the tools I'd learned for resilience and managing change have been very useful. The skills that I've learned more are more things like video editing, being able to present online, how to connect with an audience online. So that's been the main thing. It's about the presentation skills that I've learned in my case.
Yeah, I found that myself, to be honest, John, that eye contact is so important in a virtual environment because through our eyes, we connect emotionally with people. And that's a skill in itself. It takes a while to muster that skill and learn it.
Well, online, the number of people, times that I've seen, because I'm looking, right, I am now looking at you on the computer, but I'm not looking at the camera. So now I've lost that eye contact. So every so often I will glance down, but most of the time I'm talking to our friend that's listening in and watching this podcast right now. And that's you.
Indeed. Looking back over your working life as an optician, magician, resilience coach, has there been a time in your life when you said to yourself, I wish I had a coach?
I wish. Now that's strange. I have never really, I have had coaches, and I've had coaches and mentors. When you say I had a coach, I've never paid for a coach. I've always co-coached. There's always been the people that have come into my life when I've needed a coach. We've co-coached because there's always been skills that I've been able to offer them. So I've been very fortunate from that point of view. But I know that I would not have got where I am today without the help of others. And it's not necessarily a coach. It might even be a mastermind. For the people that don't know what a mastermind is, that's where a group of people get together with the sole purpose of helping each other, giving each other support with any challenges, issues, or opportunities that they might have. But a coach, mentors, and masterminds are essential because on our own, quite often we can't see our own strengths or we can't see any pitfalls. But when we have others that look at our lives, they tend to be able to see the pitfalls or be able to see the talent that we have that we can use. I mean, how many times have you, when you coach, how many times have you had this thought? You've coached somebody, you've said something, and then after the call, you've thought, that's amazing. I'm going to do that myself. That's such a great idea. And how many times have you thought, because I'm an expert, I don't know about you, but I'm an expert on everybody else's business. But when it comes to my own business, sometimes I'm too close to it. And that's why we need the coach, because we're too close to what it is that we want to do sometimes.
I come from a family, from my mum's side of the family, where we play cards. There's a history of card playing in my mum's family. And I've got a passing interest in card tricks and magic.
Yes.
Magic, a skill that you learn, or is it an innate ability within a person?
Yeah. Sorry, say that again. Is
magic a skill that can be learned, or is it?
Okay, magic is a skill, right? Doing magic tricks is a skill that can be learned by anyone. But the important aspect of doing a magic trick is the presentation. It's like a speaker. You can get two speakers where they'll say exactly the same thing, but one speaker you'll connect with and the other speaker you won't. And it's the same with the mechanics of a magic trick. Anybody can learn and anybody can do the trick. But as far as performing it so that the audience cares, so as far as performing it so that it's entertaining and there's that connection with the audience, that's a completely different thing. That too can be learned, but it takes a lot longer. It needs experience. There's that.
What does the future hold for John Hotowka?
I don't know. Anybody got a crystal ball? That is a good question. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because I love. I do a little bit of coaching, but most of my work. And now that we're coming out of lockdown, as people are watching this. For those of you who are watching this, we're now it's May 2021, so we're beginning to come out of lockdown. I'm beginning to get inquiries for speaking at conferences and for speaking after dinner as well. So I want to do more after dinner speaking, more speaking at conferences. That will come back eventually. Whether it comes back as it has done in the past this year, I don't really know, but we'll see.
Looking back at your school life and life in university, you stepped out of university, you became an optician. Did you ever see yourself in those days becoming a professional speaker and resilience coach?
Oh yeah. It was college I went to, not university. I'm not that brainy. I had no idea what happened was when I became an optician because the idea it was my parents' idea because they wanted me to be in a safe job, a job where you're not going to be made redundant, a job for life, which those years ago, 30, 40 years ago, jobs were for life in those days. Today, you put the young people of today, they'll have about 7 to 10 jobs, careers in their lifetimes. So it was supposed to be a safe job, but my heart was in magic. And I used to perform magic as a hobby, and I would work in local restaurants. So when I was made redundant, that was when I thought, I'm going to give this magic lark a go for a year and see what happens. What's the worst that's going to happen? After a year, I thought to myself, I would like to know when I get to retirement age, how far I could get. And now I know how far. I haven't quite got to retirement age yet, but now I know how far I've got. But there's no way I saw myself being a speaker at all. And I know I saw myself even being a magician full time. But hey, and who knows what's going to happen in the future? Because even as I approach retirement age, I've got a good few years yet. Who knows what's going to happen in this lifetime? It might be, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? But I'm up for it.
And a final question, John, is, do you ever see yourself retiring?
You know what? No, because I can see myself picking and choosing what I choose to do, but I can't see myself retiring at all. So, but we'll see. It's one thing I've learned about life, and it's this: have a plan, but take it one step at a time. It's important to be flexible and agile, because who knows what's going to happen.
That is very good advice. I agree with that, because there's no point looking too far ahead of yourself. Nobody knows what's around the corner.
I mean, who knew about the pandemic?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that changed the world overnight.
Very true. How can the audience contact John Hotowka? And do you have an offer for the audience today?
I most certainly do have an offer for the audience today. So first of all, you can contact me at john@Hotowka, HOTOWKA.co.uk, or you can go to my website, which is allws.hotowka.co.uk. And the offer that I have is, and I think I'm going to put the link to this, you can download my ebook with my compliments, 7 ways to rev up your resilience, focus, and success.